So picture this. You've got this massive global health initiative backed by one of the richest guys on the planet, Bill Gates. The plan is to fight malaria, the weapon of choice, genetically modified mosquitoes. This wasn't sci-fi, it was happening in Burkina Faso. Target malaria had been at it for over a decade. Then the government stepped in and said, hold up. On August 23, 2025, the military government pulled the plug. It was abrupt and decisive. Shockwaves from West Africa to Seattle, not a minor hiccup. A full nationwide shutdown. Scientists were caught by surprise. Tiny buzzing engineered insects inside. Door sealed. A government notice slapped on the door. Why now? All right, let's break down what this whole Target Malaria project was actually trying to do, because it's pretty wild. At its core, the project was a moonshot, a high-tech attempt to solve an ancient problem. Malaria is spread by female Anopheles mosquitoes. So, the scientists at Target Malaria thought, what if we could get rid of those specific mosquitoes? They used a cutting-edge technology called a gene drive. Think of it as genetic cheating. Normally, a gene has a 50-50 chance of being passed down. A gene drive is designed to be inherited by almost all offspring. That allows it to spread through a population super quickly. The ultimate goal was to introduce a gene that would mess with the mosquito's ability to reproduce. One version, create a gene drive that makes female mosquitoes sterile. Another approach, ensure mosquitoes only produce male offspring. Over several generations, the population of female mosquitoes would crash. With fewer females to bite people and transmit the parasite, malaria rates would plummet. The project had been operating in Burkina Faso since 2012. It brought together over 150 African and Western researchers, community engagement, small-scale, contained releases to study behavior in the wild. It was seen by many as humanity's best new hope against a relentless killer. The project was structured in phases, moving very cautiously. In 2019, they released genetically modified sterile male mosquitoes. Just before the shutdown, on August 11, 2025, they released 75,000 sterile males in Sorukudingan. The decision to shut down Target Malaria didn't just pop up out of nowhere. You have to understand the political climate in Burkina Faso in 2025. The country was being run by a military government led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This government came to power with a strong nationalist and anti-imperialist message. They were pushing back against excessive foreign influence. France, the US, and other Western nations found themselves under scrutiny. The government was on a mission to reclaim its sovereignty. In June and July 2025, licenses for 21 international organizations were revoked. These groups worked in aid and development. Suddenly, their operations were at risk. So when the government targeted Target Malaria, it fit a pattern. It was a high-profile, multi-million-dollar project funded by an American billionaire. From the government's view, it symbolized Western-led interventionism. The halt order issued on August 22, 2025 was swift and uncompromising. It demanded the immediate cessation of all Target Malaria activities nationwide. For many Burkinabé researchers, it was devastating. The government's order wasn't just a piece of paper, it was followed by action. Government agents moved in. They went to high-security research facilities where GM mosquitoes were bred. These were state-of-the-art insectaries, designed to prevent any escape. The agents sealed the enclosures, locking the operation down. It was a clear signal that the government meant business. This chapter of research in Burkina Faso was being slammed shut. The directive went further than sealing labs. The government ordered complete destruction of all remaining GM mosquito samples. These samples represented more than a decade of research and invaluable data. The order likely involved autoclaving or incineration to ensure no modified gene survived. That made Burkina Faso the first country to actively dismantle Target Malaria on the ground, turning a research hub into a scientific graveyard. This action was particularly poignant because it came a week after a major release. Follow-up monitoring would be impossible. Data was at risk of being lost. It was like canceling a TV series right after the season finale. The scientists were left with a massive what-if. The world was left without answers this experiment was meant to provide. Long before the military stepped in, there was a vocal chorus of opposition. A key player was the Coalition for Monitoring Biotechnological Activities, CVAB. These were organized groups, civil society, farmers, activists. They argued releasing GM organisms was a massive gamble with irreversible consequences. They pointed to unpredictability. Once a gene drive is released, you can't call it back. Could the gene jump to non-target insects, birds, bats, fish? Removing a food source could have domino effects. They called for the precautionary principle, burden of proof on those proposing risk. They questioned whether communities could give informed consent for something so complex. Critics warned gene drives are dual use, could be weaponized. Normalizing the tech could open a Pandora's box. Agricultural pests and biological weapons were cited as risks. Opponents saw the suspension as a victory for caution. They argued for prioritizing sanitation, healthcare access, and community-led solutions. To truly understand the stakes, you have to see how devastating malaria is here. In 2023, over 8 million cases were recorded. 16,146 people died that year. These aren't statistics. They are parents, children, teachers, farmers. Most deaths are among children under 5. For rural families, the buzz of a mosquito at night brings fear. It puts immense strain on a fragile health system and on household budgets. Sick children miss school, education, and futures are affected. Existing tools, bed nets, insecticides, treatments are struggling. The promise of target malaria was a permanent self-sustaining solution. It was ambitious, futuristic, and for a while, it seemed like it might work. Supporters saw the potential to lift an immense burden from communities across the country. Now, the other side. Proponents had compelling reasons. Their primary motivation was simple: to save lives. They looked at horrifying stats and concluded current tools weren't enough. They argued gene drives are targeted and could be more environmentally friendly than broad insecticides. The technology targeted only specific Anopheles species. They emphasized rigorous, step-by-step safety protocols and community engagement. Releases to date use sterile males, a well-known and non-self-perpetuating technique. Proponents argued this was an African-led solution, with many local scientists and staff. The decision was met with applause from Pan-Africanist voices. Anti-colonial activists praised the move as a stand against Western influence. They framed it as power and control. Who decides on Africa's future? Many saw foreign funding and tech as a new wave of colonialism disguised as philanthropy. Funded by the Gates Foundation, much of the core tech was developed in the US, UK, and Italy. For many, this echoed a history of Africa as a testing ground. They argued the model created dependency, solutions designed and controlled abroad. Their refrain, "Our health, our rules," decisions must be African-led. The suspension leaves uncertainty for malaria control across Africa. It's a major blow to a promising field of science. Burkina Faso had been at the forefront. Losing those sites is a setback. Work continues in Ghana and Uganda, but the loss of advanced Burkinabé sites matters. Now, nations must rely on bed nets, insecticides, and treatments that are already strained. Public health officials must return to the drawing board. The decision emphasizes improving infrastructure, sanitation, and sustained investment. It may force funders to rethink partnership models toward co-creation and deeper local leadership. Captain Traore's government has drawn a line in the sand. This is about more than health policy. It's about sovereignty and how Africa defines its future. International organizations may need to change how they work. More local voice, more democratic processes. It encapsulates the tension between saving lives with tech and protecting political and ecological independence. The long-term consequences for health and independence are yet to be seen. One nation chose to say no. The world must now answer hard questions. Who reshapes nature and who decides? This is an evolving story. Subscribe for updates. Footage licensed from Storyblocks. Sources on screen.